Donald Trump apparently walked out of his 60 Minutes interview. And now many people are trying to say, many journalists, that he was being asked tough questions about COVID. He couldn't answer, and so he broke down and he ran away. Kayleigh McEnany says that's not true. The COVID questions came right at the beginning of the interview, and Trump stayed for about 45 minutes. In my opinion, I think Trump kind of set them up. He got his interview. My understanding, he was there for 45 or so minutes. I guess it's supposed to be 60 minutes. I don't know. He was there for about 45 minutes, and then he walked out, left the interview, stealing the press, and then dragging Leslie Stahl, the journalist, for not wearing a mask, getting in front of any negative COVID story. What are you going to say, 60 Minutes? Is it true your journalist wasn't wearing a mask? Not properly social distancing, is it? So Trump walked out. Well, let's see what the actual narrative, but I'll tell you this. Narrative is, what's the narrative that's coming out? I'll tell you what, though. Let me show you this tweet from Ian Miles Chong. He said, this is how much the media cares about the Hunter Biden story. It's a non-story as far as anyone who matters is concerned. So this is a report from Newsbusters, apparently aired on Fox News. ABC has said nothing. CNN has said nothing. NBC, 45 seconds. CBS, 4 minutes and 28 seconds. And MSNBC, 4 minutes, 34 seconds. Now, I'll tell you what, MSNBC probably called it Russian disinformation and lied about it. CBS probably didn't give it a fair shake, but probably the best of the bunch. And it seems like CBS at least covered it to some degree. The media will not talk about it because it hurts Joe Biden. But the media will absolutely drag and attack Donald Trump because they view him and you and me as others who don't fit in with them and they don't care. It's a big club and you ain't in it. That's what it is. So when they see Trump, they say it's safe to make fun of Trump, to attack him, to berate him, because he's not one of us. He's not part of our tribe. I'm not interested in these stupid games, but here's the story. President Trump abruptly ended his 60 Minutes interview on Tuesday because he did not like the tough questions posed by CBS journalist Leslie Stahl, who quizzed him on his response to the coronavirus pandemic and questioned the size of his campaign rally crowds, according to a new report. We don't know why Trump walked out. I mean, it's presumable he didn't like the questions that were being asked, or it could be that she wasn't wearing a mask and he asked her and she never got a mask. Well, finally said, okay, you know what? I'm not doing this. It could be because Trump, I don't know, because Leslie, I'll try and keep it family friendly. It could be for a lot of reasons. To outright assume it's because Trump doesn't want to answer the questions, I find ridiculous. Because Trump does interviews that hurt him. He did that interview with Chris Wallace at the White House, and everyone was like, that actually was bad for Trump, but I guess bravo for him doing it. Joe Biden, hiding in the basement. Nobody asks him any hard questions, huh? When they finally asked him these questions the other day, Joe Biden lied, and then the journalists get all scared, like, I'm sorry, I asked. The president walked out of the sit-down just 45 minutes into the meeting, telling the network he believed he had given them enough material before accusing them of being biased towards Democratic rival Joe Biden. He then threatened to release footage of the encounter before its scheduled airtime on Sunday, aiming to expose the fake and biased interview without further elaborating on what went wrong. Please, Trump, release the footage. Because you know what these 60-minute interviews do? I don't like old school shows. They're all edited. Guess what? My show right now, off the cuff, stream of consciousness, no editing. The IRL podcast we do every night for about 2 or so hours, no editing. Just raw conversation, some camera swapping, but it's all continuous audio. These old school interviews are cut up and answers are changed. And, you know, I understand back in the day when you had limited time and you wanted to get to the core of their idea, but you can never actually get the full context if you remove anything. So you might have an instance where someone says, President Trump, COVID has been a serious problem in this country. What do you say to those who have lost loved ones? And Trump might go, I gotta say. Well, here's what I would say. That whole thing I just did with the ums, the ahs, and the what, they cut those things out. And then Trump would just go, the families, but that's important context. If Trump is sitting there thinking about it, you can see the look on his face. You want to know what people are thinking. They don't do that. They cut it all out. Stahl reportedly, sources told the Washington Post late Tuesday that Trump had actually cut the interview short because he was unhappy with Stahl's hardball approach and was worried the discussion would be edited to portray him in an unflattering light. Edited. Stahl reportedly prefaced the conversation by asking Trump if he was ready for a tough interview before grilling him on his administration's handling of the pandemic and his exchanges with Dr. Anthony Fauci. She also is said to have confronted him over his rhetoric about Democratic Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who authorities say was the intended victim of alleged kidnapping plot, which was foiled by cops last month. So Trump tweeted, "I am pleased to inform you that for the sake of accuracy in reporting, I am considering posting my interview with Lesley Stahl of 60 Minutes prior to airtime. This will be done so that everybody can get a glimpse of what a fake and biased interview is all about. Everyone should compare this terrible electoral intrusion with the recent interviews of sleepy Joe Biden." They say Stahl also brought up the allegations against Joe Biden's son Hunter, which the president has seized on during his campaign rallies just days before the election, seeking to portray the Bidens as a crime family. Stahl, during the interview, told Trump the claims against Hunter were unverified and also said the Obama administration did not spy on his campaign, insiders told the publication. About 45 minutes later, Trump told his staff, "I think we're done. Do you guys agree?" before leaving the room to complain to his aides. Trump reportedly told them that Biden, who was interviewed by the network earlier, had an easier interview and believed the video footage of his discussion with Stahl was going to be cut to make him look bad. He also expressed to his staff that he wanted to go after Stahl in return and began floating ideas around with his aides in the Oval Office, a senior White House official said. The interview was not that bad, a White House staff member told the Post. It wasn't a bad interview. She just had a tone he didn't like. After the interview, Trump took to Twitter where he threatened to release the footage. Well, Trump released the footage because let me tell you, here's the questions I want to see. Joe Biden, owner of struggling bar featured in Joe Biden campaign ad, is actually a millionaire tech angel investor who supported lockdown measures. Well, good for the Daily Mail for calling this out and many other outlets that have pointed this out. But it's mostly conservatives who are highlighting this, that Joe Biden did this commercial where he's got a bar owner saying like, "Oh, we're suffering under COVID and our bar is being shut down." And turns out the guy is super wealthy and a Democrat donor. Joe Biden is given a free pass all the time. And now they're saying at the third debate, they're going to cut off the microphones of the debaters. Joe Biden interrupted Trump first in that debate, in the first debate. I guess we're only going to get two. Joe Biden cut him off first. That's a fact. But everyone kept acting like it was Trump's fault. But Joe Biden, he's the one who kicked it off. And that was probably bait, I guess, because then Trump went off and then Joe Biden didn't have to talk all that much and it made Trump look really bad. But Joe Biden gets a free pass all the time. It's not an exaggeration. They don't ask him about Antifa. They barely want to ask him about anything. There was an Axios interview with Biden that was so pathetic. It was earlier this year, I guess, or late last year. And the journalist is like, I want to ask you about, Hunter. It's an important question. Like, you just want to say. And then Joe Biden's like, I'm going to answer this. Come on, get out of here. And the journalist is like, I know. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll stop. So they do. I know I need to ask you because they're saying, why are you playing with kid gloves on Joe Biden? Go to Joe. Hey, Joe, your kid's crooked. What do you got to say for yourself? Okay, maybe not that direct, but a simple question. Emails recently got released showing that you would have received 10% equity in a Chinese firm should this deal have gone through. What's your response? Well, according to someone on Fox News is reporting, someone on the chain has confirmed you were set to receive this equity, but your son was going to hold it for you, acting as an intermediary. Let him answer. Joe Biden gets a free pass on this stuff. I don't know, man. Maybe it's because he just can't handle it. But Donald Trump gets berated relentlessly by the media. They don't cover stories that need to be covered. Recently, Piers Morgan, I think it was on Tucker Carlson, which is interesting, and he said it's just getting worse. The email scandal is getting worse, and apparently Giuliani, he's going to be dropping this like evidence, he says, about Donald Trump or whatever. There's a fly. He's going to drop evidence about Joe Biden, not Donald Trump, in the next day or so. In which case, the story may be about to get substantially worse. But all of this puff piece media is gonna keep popping up. And I'll tell you this, I really do hope that Bannon and Giuliani have some substantive evidence simply because I want the media to face some kind of comeuppance for ignoring the story. That would be bittersweet. It would be oh so sweet to see. The media doesn't cover news. Whether the story is going to be as big as we want it to or not. They went nuts on this dossier, the Steele dossier. Oh, Trump and the P tapes. They went crazy about it with no evidence. Now we have an actual laptop with emails confirmed, and they don't talk about it. I want them to be forced to say, okay, Joe Biden's crooked. We should have covered this a long time ago. Because then the American people are going to see this and they're going to start asking, why didn't you cover this story? This is a massive scandal. Why are you covering for Joe Biden? Because that's what the media does. We don't have real journalists in this country for the most part anymore. I know some people like to say that I am. Look, I do mostly commentary. I comment on these stories and I'm trusting these outlets are legit. So there's definitely plans to expand and we're working on it. It's not easy, especially with the COVID and the lockdown and all that stuff. But I'm over here working on trying to figure out the best way to do a fact checking and news, actual news website. Hopefully then we'll get fair and honest reporting, which includes criticism of Joe Biden, criticism of Trump, praise for Joe Biden and praise for Trump when both are warranted. For the time being, we have a media apparatus in this country that is desperately trying to help Joe Biden win. And it's creepy and it's dangerous because if they're not told through the vote that we will not accept this, they'll keep doing it. I'll leave it there. I got one more segment coming up in a few minutes. Stick around and I'll see you all shortly.